To Ask DeAnna Anything. I'm Abby, and this is DeAnna, and you are here to hear just some little fun tidbits from DeAnna today about your health questions. So this is DeAnna Batdorf, who is an Ayurvedic practitioner, My Body educator, lymphatic specialist, and DeAnna Essentials formulator. Nothing is TMI for DeAnna. And our mission, the DeAnna Essentials mission, is a place for all people to heal, learn, and grow. We provide a community of support to empower individuals with knowledge, tools, and skills for their optimal well-being. So good to see you here today, DeAnna. I know you're.
Hi, how are you doing, Abby?
I'm doing really well. I'm calling in from Mexico today, from Oaxaca. So it's a really sweet and beautiful day here. And it's actually a festival for the Festival de los Candelos. And I wonder if it's connected to Imbolc and some of these, quarter passageways of the year. So I need to learn some more, but it's just really amazing how so many cultures around the world celebrate this kind of passageway between winter and spring.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And may everybody, be feeling that themselves and just considering what is it to be like a halfway through. And if this is about hibernation, you haven't done it yet. Sit your butt down. Get some rest any way you can. I mean, that even can be like 3 minutes in between things, you're still doing it more than you might be doing. So like, think about where you are in your busy and just what would be even the tiniest little baby step you could take to just like, I'm going to stop and take 3 deep breaths and then I'm going to, really go from there. So just want to give everybody that opportunity to think about this winter hibernation time. And I just wonder how any of our questions today, I know we have quite a few, but I'm just wondering how those questions relate even somehow to the cold that we've been feeling, and it starts kind of settling in. And so lucky. Hanu's like, I'm cold too. and just really, what do we need to kind of get a little warmer to meet the sun, that isn't here today, but it will be.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's going to be a really good theme for this whole podcast and for many of these questions about how to bring that warmth and movement and juiciness that we need to make it through the winter. So do you want to dive right in, or are there any other notes that you want to start with today?
I just want to do a shout out to all my students, all 35 or 36 of them who showed up for Tibetan cranial course. We did Tibetan cranial, which is Thambag Kujatag. It's like a skull maneuvering, kind of, opening sutures and getting those bones to really get coaxed to where they need to be. And we did palate release in the mouth, which is just like getting the closest to the pituitary as we possibly can, regulating pleasures and pains and the psoas, that trauma muscle. And it was just a precious weekend. I know you were there. It was wonderful. And yeah, it just really makes me feel great about going back to in-person classes and just how many people are showing up and want to take it into their practice. And I'm like, ripple away. So, and I also feel like, wow, my articulation as a teacher, I'm feeling seasoned. I'm feeling well marinated, seasoned, and tenderized. And it just means everything is coming out of my head and my heart and in through my mouth. It's just coming out with such ease. And the questions are so like, I know the answer. Wait a minute, I know the answer. And hopefully that's true for today, But it's a very special place to arrive to, and then to think, I really kind of consider I'm halfway through my life. So I don't see it as a couple more years. I'm like, I'm halfway through. I'm seasoned, and like, wow, what might come out of me 10, 20, 30 years, 40 years from now.
Totally.
I'm excited about the future, and we're not saying that enough. And I'm very excited to be even able to say that. I'm actually excited for our future.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of room for big change. And I really do believe in humans. I think it's possible.
Totally. It's so inspiring. And your class this weekend was just so inspiring. It was amazing to learn about just the malleability of the skull and of the palate, things that I had no consciousness of really before, that you could move your skull and the various plates, and that you could open up your palate, a place that we really never talk about or think about. So you've definitely set me with my marching orders, like, okay, I got to open up this palate. And I feel like that speaks so closely to that idea of being hopeful for the future, like opening up our palates, opening up our worldviews and what's possible.
Right. Yep.
So
There's plenty of pain out there. There always will be. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean we can't still find the pleasures, and we have to replace them slowly.
Mhm.
So we're gonna have to do a whole lot of, this is a fun one. We're gonna have to do a whole lot of pleasuring
Yeah.
to get past our pains. So my question to the people around me and even the world is, how do we all feel about that? Can we all commit to that? Just
Mhm.
those little bit more laughters and pleasures and relief.
Mhm.
And where would that take us if we keep that a focus? I think it would take us very, very far. It has taken me very far.
Totally.
So,
Love that.
yeah.
So inspiring.
Revolution.
Revelation is pleasure. Woohoo. Okay, so our first question, let's see if we can tie some pleasure into these questions, is, hi, I would love to learn more about what DeAnna recommends for sagging facial skin and loss of elasticity for those in their 30s. Really don't want to use retinol. Thank you.
Okay, so I have to start where I'm going to start. You need to stay plump.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh, I
Hydration.
almost feel a little like, I'm going to talk about hydration once again. So I want this person to please get my ebook
Mm-hmm.
and stick to those 3 primary trines of hydration. It's $5.99. Why not? But it's like electrolytes, omega oils, and probiotics. They are the trine of hydration. The probiotics are the wet flora, hydration of the gut, our seat of health. And that is going to translate to your tissue health. And so our gut health, our emotional health, and what we eat, and our gut health is our tissue health. And skin is halfway through those 7 tissues. So you got to get the lymph river moving. You got to get the bloodstream flowing. You got to get the muscles juicy and pliable. And then all of that feeds out to our skin layers at our surface and around and protecting all of our organs. So if you are feeling like you are aging early, this is called Vata. And I mean, Vata's air and ether, and it's the idea of going too cold or too dry, too low blood pressure, and the cells go flat, and then our body literally mimics the majority, just like that pleasure pain.
Mm-hmm.
Like pleasure pain, we have to make pleasure the majority when we're in pain. Not easy to do, but still, it's such a biggie. And here you have to get that cell plump so that your cells will mimic plump. And if you're aging early, that means your cells are going flat, and then you might be mimicking that. And that's like anti-aging 101, even in the medical realms. But that trine of hydration is everything. And I know I talk about it so much, but I mean, we say Vata Pitta Kapha. Like, why do I end up talking about it so much? We say Vata Pitta Kapha for a reason. Ether and air, are the movers of fire and water. And then that is what makes the structure and the grooves and the stability of our earth. So Vata, cold, dry, are like the most dominant thing that could possibly happen to us that would break that chain of element balance. So it's not just I'm crazy about hydration. It's like the elements are crazy about hydration. Like, look at the earth. It will not survive without water. That is the biggest fear, stress we have. Well, guess what? We don't either. we're the same percentage. Our inner and outer terrains are the same percentage and have the same elemental flow. So this is why hydration comes up so much, and I will continue to talk about it because I feel like I'm being a good steward to traditional medicines around the world and the foundations of like drinking water, eating soupy broth, stewy foods, and think about the wetter a food is, the more hydrating it is. Food tells you everything. I just started edible Ayurveda. It's not too late to join us. It is the most, look at this beautiful book, Edible Ayurveda, Mary Sheila Ganella and I. And we go through so many details that end up adding up to beauty. And like, how do you read your food? How do you read your body? And how do you read your food? So this person should be like, if I feel dry and I don't feel plump, how many wet, foods can I get into my diet? And it makes a massive difference. I mean, I say, give this 4 months and you will see all the changes along the way, and I'm sure maybe Abby, you could even speak to that since you've been around this theory now for a little over a year, but I feel like you've taken it on some, and the omegas take a while, all of a sudden you're like, what? Look at my nails. Like, look at my skin. But they're accumulative. The electrolytes keep that water moving right now. And the probiotics, they're an interesting little game, of their own. But that would be my very first. And then I'm going to rattle off a couple oils that are just now in my space. I'm going to try to move quickly here. Wild carrot seed. Wild carrot seed is amazing for cellular strength. It's even so strong in cellular strength that we use it in particular ways, not just, a couple drops, in a cream, but, we use this as a birth control women during ovulation because it doesn't allow implantation to occur. And it does that because it makes this barrier around the egg so it can't implant over time. But using this in like 10 drops in a 1 ounce of your serum, you buy a serum, you buy like eye pomade, which I love my eye pomade, but you have something you put on your skin every day, 10 drops in an ounce. That's not birth control amount whatsoever. And, but it will absolutely start kind of strengthening all the cells and the places you might love to see that change. And I'm going to give another shout out to Guasha because hello, and there's something, since I have an esthetician background, this action is an effleurage, upward motion with your 3 last fingers. And literally you're doing effleurage. And we do this sometimes with like a cold mask, over the face, kind of with a bunch of oil, and you're just like working it in. And it's very important. And you can also mist your skin with a really gentle amount of, take that teaspoon of Atlantic gray salt that you're drinking in your water, take another one, but put it in like an 8 ounce mister, just a half a teaspoon of salt in an 8 ounce mister. And you are giving yourself surface electrolytes. And that is a really nice way to do it too. So blood flow, lymph and blood flow is exercise. And then you've got the literal plumping the cells. But that would be, really where I'd be going with this for sure.
Brilliant. So simple, yet so effective. I feel like, yes, in this year of working with you, I've definitely had all my cells plump up a little bit more by drinking salt water throughout the day and eating more of my tahini and raw oils. And being like, oh yeah, I can't cook my oils and just eat them raw. And all those kraut and kimchi and all the different probiotics. It's amazing. Right. Some really simple things can do. So
the whole inside door of my refrigerator is like omega oils, omega seed, raw seed butters, and all kinds of different probiotics, different vinegars, different krauts, And so I just kind of go for flavor, and then I'm getting different chemical compounds. I'm like, ooh, I want some of that pumpkin seed on my salad. And then, yesterday I was craving black tahini like crazy, and then I was all about that. Last week I was feeling a little bit heavier, and I was like, but it's like I just play with them, and then also which one of those probiotics is going to taste the best on the meal I made. So then I don't have to be like, did I get enough omega 3, 6, 9, 12? I don't chase them around as much. And then when I am feeling sick or having a health concern, then I can be more targeted. And that's one of the things we also do in Edible. I mean, the charts in that book are astounding.
Yeah, it's
like you got two full-on nutrition geeks who want everything to taste yummy and be fun. And then we're like geeking out on nutrition and the body.
Totally.
So lots of options in there according to what you might be, having symptoms of.
Yeah, I love that. It's amazing how just adding things to a meal can make something from being so simple, like even just rice and beans. Once you add like a little tahini sauce, a little kraut, a little like you put on those Trine of hydration things, your salts, your tahini, and your kraut or whatever it is, and you're like, oh, now it's a fancy meal. Like this is awesome.
Exactly. Flavor is everything. It's another way we feel pleasure. Our tongue. We taste on our tongue. Think about all the things we do with our tongue.
So much goodness.
So we have to consider that too. Just like where's the pleasure in life and our tongue and our flavor and spice up our life, So
awesome. All right, next question. So the next one is from Sandra, who asks, hi, DeAnna. I have a question for your next Ask DeAnna Anything. Do you have any tips on relieving gas? My 11-month-old son suffers from colic pains. I've been holding him across my body and tapping his middle back with my cupped hand. When his pain is really bad, I give him some simethicone gas relief drops, which seems to help. Any words you can share are greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, well, the one detail we don't know here is if this little sweetie is nursing or not. 11 months old, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we don't know if this sweetie is nursing. If there's nursing going on as our main form of food, then it's going to be taking out some foods that she may love, and that would start with nightshades. It would start with nightshades. I have a few things to say about this whole conversation for sure. But garlic, onion, leeks, peppers, may not need to take out potatoes. It's pretty benign as a nightshade, but sometimes people do. But that would be the very first start. And one of the most irritating things to a baby's belly, because you're getting more the gases out of the milk, from the digestion, is the gases from those. And then that makes them very gassy. So maybe she's already considered this, because those are kind of common. The other thing is, babies sometimes, we have to develop enzymes, break down foods. And there's an enzyme in the mouth called amylase. And babies have to develop that amylase. And that's what splits a protein. And it also splits the carbohydrate compounds. So we can't break down carbs and proteins very easily without that amylase building up in the salivary glands. And so one thing that I'm a big fan of, funny it segues from the other question, even though so different, but the thing I'm really a fan of, if you're not nursing and it's more about like, oh, this baby's exploring foods, is tiny little bits of coriander powder and a tiny little bit of nutmeg and a tiny little bit of cumin powder, not a seed that they could choke on, the powder, you know? And just like you just keep putting tiny little bits, because spices are where we get blood building and we get enzymes. We get the most wide variety of vitamins, minerals, and enzymes from our spices. So those are enzymatic and they're going right in the mouth. And then the baby's sucking on it. Isn't it so cute when you think about this happening? I'm sorry. Something about a baby's like, talk about the tongue again. And we're teaching them pleasure. You're teaching them to spice up their life and come alive and feel. We're not putting cayenne on the baby's tongue. That's too far. And it's a nightshade.
Baby.
Not even ginger. So you're doing simple, not even cinnamon, but coriander, cumin, tiny little bit of turmeric, but it's kind of bitter. But I also believe giving a baby those little bitters on their tongue. They're a child who I've seen, because I've seen so many children grow up now. They're children who like eat their greens without even asking, like without even wondering, because they already know the flavor bitter. They know that flavor profile. So you want your baby to know astringent, pungent, sour, bitter, sweet, salty. We want our babes to know those. And those are all the different times. And sumac is an amazing one because it's like children love it anyway, and it's sour. That's why do children want pickles? You know what I mean? Why do they want sour candy? They're looking for enzymes. Our tongue will do that. When we need salt, when we need electrolytes, we'll do anything for salt. And all of a sudden you're in a bag of chips, which is not medicine, but it tastes good when you want it. Like your body will do anything. So I would see if building up the enzymes didn't change this. And then I have one other detail. There could be an allergen, but that's a much bigger conversation. And I'm just going to make a little shout out to the elimination diet. So like, she would eliminate if nursing, and she would eliminate those foods from the babies, start introducing them. And you can learn that online. You don't need me to explain that, but it's called elimination diet. You're tracking which foods are intolerance or allergens. That can cause a lot of gas in a baby. And they don't do good with corn and eggs. I can tell you that for sure. Those are hard to break down, and it takes a lot of enzymes to break down corn and eggs. So often those are intolerances. I don't like to call them allergies until we prove that, because it's a very fixed word. So let's say they're intolerances, And then the other thing is like, what if the little baby's got a log jam in the intestines? What if there's a poop party going on in there? Like, that is going to back you up. And then we float and we have gas and we're distended and it's so uncomfortable. So then the baby's really bummed and then the family's bummed and, I mean, it's a real thing. So you might have to go in and do some abdominal massage and break up the logjam. So you just palpate, you just like go around and you just palpate from the diaphragm all the way down to the hips. The ileocecal valve is over here on the right side at 7 o'clock, way down in the hip, really. And then our rectum, where everything releases to the anus, is down here at like 5 o'clock on the left. And those are two big places. There can be a compaction right at the end. Baby could still be pooping and there be a log jam. And human adults, listen to me right now. You could still be pooping, but have a log jam, and you may not be having 2 bowel movements a day, or maybe you have to really work hard to have those bowel movements. Babies do get constipated, and that really, really, is uncomfortable. So you might have to find, the hard little bits, and maybe even look at a picture of the digestive tract, get a concept of like, you got all your small intestines around the belly button, and you got your colon around the edges. From diaphragm, that's transverse, and then down all the way towards that hip is where the biggest pockets where things get stuck. So, and you just, get it warm, put a little, what's really amazing, and this is great for anybody, but a nice, just slightly warm water bottle.
Mm,
And babies love this. You put that heavy water bottle on them, and then you
yeah.
jiggle it, and it's all the water jiggles, and it matches the flow you're looking for in the gut.
Mm,
And it just feels so good when you're not feeling good in your belly to put that hot water bottle on there. But get
totally.
the tissue, get the tissue warm. Don't worry about what oil or salve you use. Just grab what you got. Oil is oil, and put it on there. And castor oil would break up more poop party, and you just start massaging, and then you find a little nugget. And you're all, what the heck? There's not hard nuggets in the intestines that aren't poop. So you find a little nugget in there, and you just kind of smush it up and break it up and disperse it in both directions. Sometimes those little log jams can be a little, and baby might cry a little. So I have to back off, but I also need to help. So I might have to kind of like make them laugh a little bit, and then pump, 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 and then make them laugh and jiggle with the hot water bottle, and then pump, pump, pump. Just because I know it's going to help them in the long run, So those are the things just like right there that I'm thinking of, And if those things don't work, then you can consider, should I do an allergy test, or like, should I take that allergy idea further?
Mm-hmm. Wow. I love that. I love the idea of the little bits of spices. It's so sweet. And it just makes so much sense. I feel like it really goes with our whole cultural phenomenon of like, if your stomach is upset or if you have digestive problems, you should eat the most plain food possible. And like little kids eat the most plain food possible, just chicken tenders and French fries. But it's like really what we need is all those enzymes and to build the digestive fire and to like have that taste that ignites your life passion and your love of food and that kind of thing. And that just helps so much for adults too and everyone.
Yes. Yeah, I am truly offended by children's menus.
I know.
Like, truly horrified.
Yeah.
It like deep, and I'm not even a parent. I'm just kind of like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Like if that's what we make available, then that's going to become the problem.
Mm-hmm.
But if we didn't make that available, it's not the problem.
Totally.
But yeah, such a great way to go. And more spices on our tongue is great just for anybody's digestion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely just reveling in that here in Oaxaca. It's like, oh, so many spices, so many flavors, all the moles.
Mole.
So good.
Chocolate mole, red mole, yellow mole, green mole. Oh my gosh, I love the farmers market there. That farmers open market in Oaxaca. Yep. Have you gone?
I did. I've gone a couple times. I can't stay away.
Love that. Love that place.
It's amazing. So good. Okay, well, we have another question that relates to the cranial conversation we've been having.
Okay.
Awesome. So this is from Ananda, who asks, hi, I have been experiencing swollen sinuses above my eyelids, below my eyebrows, and on either side of my nose. So it's above my eyelids, below my eyebrows, and on either side of my nose. My ethmoidal sinuses, maybe. First thing in the morning. I wonder what you might recommend to help. A guasha. Any thoughts on what's going on? Thank you.
Okay. Is this person asking if they should guasha?
Yes, it sounds like they're asking what's going on. Should they guasha?
Yeah. Okay, so the thing I would highly suggest a few different things. I'm gonna do one. Let's just start with the one that if you had a practitioner around you who could give you a netrobasti, which is the ghee bath on the eyes. And maybe if we knew where you lived, we would be able to kind of see if there's someone in your area. If you live around here, you got someone. There's a lot of netrobasti going on around here. So that would be amazing, because then you would be able to do, I would suggest to the practitioner that they do half castor, half ghee. Those are the two oils you can do a netroplasty with. And they would go in and massage the mucous membrane, which is above and below your tear duct, which is what excretes out to your tear duct. But they would also, and you can do this yourself, I'm wondering if your tear, because if your tear ducts are clogged, everything's going to back up in those mucous membranes that meet all the lymph channels in your face. That's where they drain. So you could have a other issue, which is the lymph drain at your clavicle or in your scalenes above your clavicle or your neck. If you have a bunch of lymph congestion, none of that can drain anywhere. So you do need to think downstream, just like when we're working on, oh, you have edema in your feet. Okay, we know we want that to change, but you're going to have to get the knees and the hips opened so the edema has somewhere to go. So that tear duct, if you put your finger on your tear duct and roll it back and forth, and yay, my finger's wet. My tear duct is open. Let's check the other one. Yep, tear duct is open. If it feels hard or it has like a little pit in the middle, kind of like a clogged pore, or it feels kind of large under your finger and it doesn't just kind of soften on demand, then you have a clogged tear duct. And so that would need to work first, and then you'd be able to drain those mucous membranes. So how do you do a netroplasty at home? I've tried so many times. I cannot seal that. I'm like, I'm going to master this. Nope. You get an eye cup. You can go online and get a glass eye cup, the least plastic possible. That's great. So get a glass eye cup, and it's got just a little concave, and you fill it with a little bit of the ghee and the castor, and you suction it onto your eye, and you literally tilt back and you open your eye. It feels amazing. And you stretch your eye every direction, and then you bring it back down, and then you take all the excess oil and you do the massage they would have done in that Netra bowl. And you just massage, you open the tear duct, meet the tissue, you open this up and pump the top, you pump it in. Same thing with people who get puffy eyes, even though that's a true kidney issue. You need the tear ducts is where that needs to excrete, as it weeps out the eye, and then that's not as good type of thing. But even that, for people who have hold a lot of fluid under their eyes, I do netras and kind of clear it out and then teach them how to do that. So then it becomes its own little health beauty care, right? Mm-hmm. The two are one and the same, really. So that is really what I would be thinking of as far as like, what can you do? The other thing I think of is getting a really high quality organic rose water, like a really good high quality rose hydrosol. It'll give a little sting, but it'll tonify all the blood vessels back, and it'll excrete those sinuses, and you're just doing one little drop. And sometimes it doesn't have an astringency at all. I just don't want this person to be surprised and think that they're going blind, because I would never, give you something that would do that to you. But, rose water has been being used to astringe back those mucous membranes, but you wouldn't want to do an astringent if the tear duct was tight, right? You'd want to do all softening first. And then the other thing I just want to is like, how did that happen? How did that happen? So, yes, it could be the ethmoid and the sinus channel and the septum right to the bottom of the ethmoid. Like, it could be a sinus channel issue. That's what a lot of people think. So it is a possibility, but I'm going to be honest, it's not the most common thing I see. The ethmoid bone might be floating and out of place because there's stagnation, but you're going to have to move the stagnation first to kind of sink in and stay, so it's kind of secondary. But hey, is there sinus infections? Are there, again, allergies? Like, what is causing that amount of fluid to come in through the eyes? So we know allergies move through those mucous membranes. Mold. This is the most unfortunate conversation we could be having, because that like makes you have to think about where do you live, and mold's not easy to get rid of. And it lives in our fabrics, in our home. So we rub our eyes on our pillowcase, and then it gets up in the nostrils and the mouth and the ears. It's a real problem where we live, for sure.
Yeah.
So it really could be a mold picture, or it could be an allergen, or there could be something literally in the sinuses, like your lymph system is working on something and it hasn't gotten rid of it. Or what if it's, one of the millions of people who have had COVID, and we got all gunked up and sticky and tons of mucus, and then now we have to make sure that it's draining to get out. This is how we don't get long COVID, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm not having a problem getting people away from that concept, because I'm teaching them how to move their lymph, and they're just getting in there. And you find a good lymph specialist who can just like work on some details for you for a couple hours in a treatment, and you're like, dun, 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 dun. Oh, it was my immune system that got bogged up, and I have to open the floodgates to get my energy back. So could be something like that too. But these are just the options for this person. Hopefully one of those, if this person's listening, is like, oh, it's that. And that's always my hope. Give you options in a venue like this, and then it leads you to help you find your answers.
Totally. That's awesome. I just love the Naturavasti idea. Going back to that, I'm like, I wish I could get one every day. So this is a really good reminder of the eye cups, because it sounds so weird. You're like, well, I'm going to put ghee in my eyes, but it feels amazing. So
castor and ghee feels amazing on the eyes.
Sounds awesome. I've been doing a drop of castor in my eyes at night, so I can just only imagine how much would get cleared out with a bunch of castor in there.
That's right. And everybody keep in mind, if you're going to do a drop of castor in your eye each night, you might be crusty in the morning for a couple days, maybe even a couple weeks, but that's all the castor pulling debris, and then pretty soon you won't have that at all. And it's just complete relief, and it's really good for dream state. Calming those 12 cranial nerves behind your eyes, you're going to have more clear dreams, little bit more clear sleep.
Wow, I hadn't put that together, but that definitely feels true.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, so we have another cranial question from Maria. So she asks, at your Tibetan cranial class, you discussed that having dental work done can often put stress on the head bones and can result in some misalignment. What kinds of self-care or head massage would you recommend doing after a cavity filled? I will be having multiple cavities filled in the next month. I generally go to a spa or with hot water, cold water, and steam in the same day after dental work, and plan time for physical and emotional support for myself. Nice. Sounds good.
I wonder if they're going to Bliss Bathhouse, the stuff built with all of our love.
Yes, Bliss Bathhouse shout out.
And I mean, wow, Milena is being such an amazing steward to that bathhouse. We made such a smart move, making that array so special. I was just in there. I'm so in love with my own bathhouse that is no longer mine. Oh, it's so good. And there's all the Korean bathhouses. Oh, yeah. Smart move. So while you're at the bathhouse, sitting in the hot tub or in your clawfoot tub, if you're at the Bliss, what you first want to do after dental is, yes, I would really just like connect to the mandible, which is like mid-ear. You have a little notch in here that shows you the top of the mandible. And it's one big piece. Yep. And then you got your maxilla, which is like right at the top of your nostrils, about, I don't know, maybe an inch out, and all the way down into it attaches to your hard palate and your teeth. Your teeth are part of the maxilla. So those two, are going to be the most important to see, did they get misaligned? If you had your mouth open for a long time and you didn't realize it was like to the side, you could get kind of stuck over there, and sometimes if they're working, they'll pull that maxilla forward and it'll kind of push your feet. You'll need to kind of rest it back down. So like, it's kind of a big conversation because I'm not teaching Tibetan cranial here. So someone might be like, what? Move my maxilla? But I'm going to answer your question, for the person who took the class. So you're going to bring down your mandible, make it aligned, bring your maxilla down, make sure it's aligned. And then your zygomatic. And there's a whole area of muscular process from the temporal bone to the mandibular notch. It's called the zygomatic process right through here. And you might have to bring that down. And it's kind of like, it's really your cheekbone. That's the name of your cheekbone. Kind of nicer than cheekbone, huh?
Yeah.
I really like your zygomatic.
Your zygomatic process is looking good.
You have such high zygomatic process. You know what I mean? And you need to bring these down and make sure they're not like crooked, and then the other key one for this is going to be that occiput, which is kind of the key to the whole, flow of your, to all the bones moving. Normally I'm like occiput first, always occiput first. After dental, I probably just kind of like get my whole jaw back in place. And then I would just see if I can get my occiput to come down too. Yeah. And if you're wondering about these, but you don't know them, just pull up an image of the skull and they're labeled and you can learn. Yeah, there's only so many. There's only 8 cranial bones and about 13 facial bones. So it's not, and they're great to be able to look at. Ooh, should I grab my skull? I'm going to. Meet the skull.
Yay.
Hi, I just had dental work. Yeah, so this is the mandible. This is where that meets right there. And then this yellow is the maxilla. Very important. Look how big that is. Very important.
Yeah.
There's the ethmoid bone right down over in there, that little red bit on both sides. And then here's the occiput in the back, the brown. It's a little irregular in shape if you really look at it. But that's the key to getting all these bones to release and move, is moving this occiput down. Then you can get the parietals to come down. Then you can get the orange temporal bone. It's not really orange in your body, but and you have to move. But that's really cool stuff.
It all just feels so good. So nice to touch the head.
So good. And I always talk, if you're going to try to do it yourself, which is not as easy, but you can. I moved mine. You really want to use the weight of your elbows so you can kind of like do a hold and then just elbow down. Don't think about how you're looking.
Especially when you're on camera.
I'm like, I know, just get in there. No.
It feels so good. It's worth it.
Sure is.
Awesome. Well, I think we can do one more question. I know you have to get off right at 10, so you can go support with a Panchakarma.
That's right.
DeAnna does it all. So we'll jump into this last guy. I just found a lump a bit under my skin in the middle of my I'm not sure what it is and don't expect you to be able to tell me. I would say it feels kind of soft and mobile. It's not painful, and I have not noticed any symptoms in this leg. The lump is located right next to the area of scar tissue that I've been guashaing quite often. This is a scar that I selected to be a kind of test case to learn about scar removal since I'm new to it. I'm wondering if my guashaing could have caused this lump, or is there some other way that they could be related? The only thing about the lump that is apparent to me is that it's next to the scar that I've been vigorously guashaing. So while the location could be unrelated to the scar, it seems like it could be related. It's from one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a couple things. First off, I'm proud of you. It
Mm-hmm.
takes some work. You know, to like get in there and break that tissue up and face those scars. And I'm really proud of you for getting in there. I do want to say, like, if you guasha'd so much that you kind of broke skin, or if you guasha'd so much that it was like beyond really a pain tolerance, like beyond productive, maybe you would hurt yourself. But I have been doing gua sha for like, oh my gosh, how long? More than, whoosh. And I really don't see the gua sha ever really hurting someone or causing more scar tissue. But I don't ever want to take that concept away from someone. The one time I have seen it was somebody who literally, like, now I've got this other thing. And I was like, but what's this scab from? And they're like, that's my gua sha. And I'm like, ew. Yeah,
You've
we
been
don't
going hard.
scab. You know what I mean? That's like, you're really going for it. So I doubt it was the gua sha. And these are my two ideas on what it is. So the first idea would be, when we break up scar tissue, sometimes there was like clumps of scar tissue that kind of bound up together. You
Mhm.
could have broken up a whole bunch of it, and now you've got like a big chunk of scar tissue. You know what I mean? That formed in a different way. So it may be scar tissue itself, and it's kind of a particulate. It's a part of it from breaking it up. So that's one idea. The other idea would be that often, okay, we have lymphatic vessels and nodes all over our body, everywhere, from the most surface to the deepest of who we are. Okay, literally everywhere.
Amazing.
So if you had where scar tissue, was like, or let's just use the any place here for an example, and you got scar tissue and you're breaking it up, there could be a bunch of lymph nodes that have been matted and kind of like not breathing. Now you got tons of them, so they just find other ways to go. But it does mean you could have like opened up a lymph, exposed a lymph node that was under the scar tissue, and it hasn't been functioning, and it's really dry and what's called encapsulated. And it'll feel like this random, like really round, a healthy lymph node is an almond and it's soft. So if this is smaller than an almond, then we know that it's dry or cold because it's compacted small. If it's about the size of an almond, but it's like gushy, you might literally be really smart about what you're feeling. And you might even just be feeling like a lymph node that should have been able to be found there, and you gave it its freedom. But if it's smaller than an almond, which is probably my thought here, I think you probably had a lymph node that was matted by the scar tissue. You broke it up. Now that lymph node's there. And now you want to get that lymph node between your fingers with heat and warmth, and oil. And you want to like let's say it's here, and you want to roll. You want to do rolling every direction, rolling, softening, squishing it. If it's really small and tight, it's probably like compacted, and you just need to tenderize it and soften it. I would probably do more with your hands and heat, and I would be using Mahanarayan oil. And also the simplest one, if it's lymph, would be grapefruit oil, pink grapefruit. Put a couple drops of pink grapefruit, put some maha on there, and just start because grapefruit's amazing for lymphatic drainage. Really good. If it feels really cold, or if you run really cold, those are people who get those compacted lymph nodes really easily. Like they'll get them way down in the groin from where they're like cold and lacking blood flow, or under the armpits, or even in the neck. And those just, they need maybe a little bit of ginger grass essential oil, something a little bit warmer, and then tenderizing it. The way you just really approached, the way this person was able to approach their scar tissue and be like, I'm going to do this. Well, what was under there? And I think you found what was under there. And now you get to soften that lymph node. And it's giving you a beautiful picture of like, oh, we really do have 7 layers of tissue, you know? And so when one tissue is, you know, impinging in on another area, when you open it up, you usually do find a few other things that are going on there, like lymph nodes that are suffocating, you know, and sometimes nerves that are not breathing. And then all of a sudden they get opened up and you're all, whoa, I can feel that draining all the way down the side of my body. And it's like, oh, you just opened up a nerve line.
Totally. Yeah, it's so incredible to see how each of those systems and all the different tissues of the body are so interconnected. So I'd be really curious to know, yeah, how was the nervous system affected? How was the lymphatic system, the muscular system? And it's just so beautiful.
Okay, here.
Dropped
Did
you
you
off,
lose me?
Anna, but I think we got
I'm
you
back.
again. You're back.
Let's see, what else did I about that particular, like what I think is probably a lymph node. I want to give one other thing just to consider, which is anytime we have a lump, I do the same thing with chests. I do the same thing with breasts. I do the same thing with the groin. The moment you find a lump, the chances are pretty high that it's a lymph node that's clogged, and we just have not been taught what to do. But the truth is, we do get lumps that scare us, and they can be something that we don't want them to be. We already know what that is. And so I just want to remind us that moving the lymph does not make, you know, cancer or infections dump into our body further. That is a proven fact. Even the Cancer Society of America agrees. The medical agrees. We're all on board now. That did not used to be true. So even if you work that and it just won't change, you're like, what the heck? Well, then that's when, you know, if it won't change in a couple weeks, like that's when you need to go in and get it checked. You know, it could be a calcification. Sometimes the body where there's scar tissue and an injury, we also, calcium comes to our rescue to help us heal. It could be a calcified a chunk of calcium. But I don't want to take out of the conversation that if you work on a lump for a couple weeks, you're not going to hurt yourself. But if it doesn't change, that's where, you know, you need to kind of maybe just, you know, it's good to think about the 3D imaging, you know, ultrasound. You know, I'm a huge fan of ultrasounds as a way of looking at something that you're trying to figure out what it is. I think it's a good first step.
Looks like we may have lost DeAnna for a second, but there's a really amazing ultrasound imaging place I'll include in the show notes, but they have all sorts of different locations throughout California and maybe even throughout the whole US. So we'll put that in there. It might be QR imaging. I forget exactly the acronym, but we'll put that in the show notes so you can go and check that out because they do some really amazing water-based imaging that is just super high-tech and amazing and not as painful. So we'll see if DeAnna hops back on here, but I know that it is time for her to go and get on that Panchakarma too. So it could be the universe just booting her off saying, all right, Dee, you gotta go help people out. So thank you all so much for joining today on Ask DeAnna Anything. It's been such a pleasure to jump back in. And our new schedule for Ask DeAnna Anything is the first Thursday of every month. So you'll catch us again next March, or in March on the first Thursday of the month. And you can submit any questions that you have on our website, which is DeAnnaEssentials.com, or you can submit questions directly to me at info@DeAnnaEssentials.com. and we will make sure that those are included in our next podcast. So here's DeAnna. Again, if you want to say a little sign off, I was just telling people where they can do that.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you all. I just want to say thank you all for joining me and wanting to hear what I have to say. It's really a special thing in my life to be able to relay information that's been provided to me. You know, I don't own any of this information. This is all information that is available to every single one of us and has been for centuries and centuries around the world. And it's just us giving ourselves the freedom to explore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if I look at a bottle of alcohol, rubbing alcohol, like, sure, I can be smart enough to be like, I don't want to put that in my eyes. You know, but if I look at an oil, you know, and it's a plant oil, and you can look things up online. You can investigate, has this been used for the eyes? And you're going to find, if you look around, you can put castor in your eyes, and then we give ourselves more permission to take care of ourselves in deeper ways. You know, just like all the dental care we can do for ourselves, the eye care we can do for ourselves, the lymphatic touch that we can do for ourselves. So, you know, please look up my webinars. They're only $24 each, and they will really lead you down that road. So thank you so much all for joining me, and I'm off to punch your karma for the day. And
awesome.
May you all have a great day doing your self-care.
Thank you so much, DeAnna. Thank you for all those recommendations.
Thank you so much. Have a great time in Mexico, Abby.
Thank you.
Adios.
Those moles.